Hey everyone! Welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Cashback Compliance. My house insurance came up for renewal last week. They sent me a letter saying it would auto-renew at some ridiculous inflated price. So, as usual, I hit up the price comparison websites and did some research. After about half an hour of searching them all, I found a decent deal. It was the same price as my renewal, but with a £50 cashback. And it's with the same insurer I'm currently using. I set up the quote and saved it. And then I phoned them to ask them to simply renew at the quote minus the cashback rate to save all the fuss. The operator told me it wasn't possible. I said okay, then give me the policy with the cashback. I was told that I don't qualify for the cashback as it's for new customers only. They then asked me if I'd like to just renew at the rate on my renewal letter. But instead I said no, I'd like to cancel the renewal of the policy completely. I was given a stern warning that I wouldn't be covered anymore if I did this and that my policy would last until midnight. I agreed. I was then informed that it was all done and I would receive the details of my termination by email. Is there anything else I can help you with? The usual sign-off message of call center operators everywhere. Well, there's one thing. I'd like to take out a new policy with you. I have a quote here. Oh. A week later, I received my cashback by check. A few days after my new customer welcome pack. The next story is called Sad We Couldn't Be of More Help. My supervisor is a notorious micromanager. This happened at the end of the year and she needed to be under budget. She ranted at us for an hour about how we charge our time. Here's a quick and dirty rundown of how we charge our time. I work for a big company with smaller satellite offices. If we do work for a particular office, we charge time to that office. We should only be charging to our department for our breaks and department-sanctioned events such as meetings. Apparently, we were charging way too much to the department's budget. Mind you, she ran our 30 minutes meetings to an hour. She wants us to charge exactly what we use for our department to our department. And here's where the malicious compliance comes in. Previously, I charged an hour a day to our department just for the little things like breaks, time entry, etc. That's 5 hours. Basically, everyone in my department did the same. Now this week alone, I'm over that by 2 hours. Times that by 12 people, as we all have the same base schedules. She now has 24 additional hours to help her with that budgeting problem. So sad we couldn't be of more help. The third story is called Read Your Emails. This story is not malicious compliance, but it's too good not to tell. I used to work in an office. Every January, HR would send an email to all employees with the employee handbook. This included job descriptions, office policies, etc. Every year since the PDF handbook had been established, it would be named with the year following it to establish it was different than the original and all other years. Any changes would have updated next to the section in the table of contents, so you could see what had changed from the previous year and familiarize yourself with anything new. Now, with that background, we will introduce Karen. Karen had been with the company for a pretty long time, about 10 years I believe. She was fine at her job. Just fine. She would get things done, but not without making everyone else miserable in the process. She would ask questions that had already been answered and basically just waste everyone's time for fun. She was just plain nasty to people and tried as hard as she could to make everyone stay far away from her. The worst thing about her was that she always seemed to be looking for a fight or looking for a reason to complain. She had threatened lawsuits a few times over any small thing, but would always just get over it and drop it because she knew no laws had been broken and it would never go anywhere. She'd comment on how she should steal basically every business she ever went to because she could live off the settlement and retire early. Over the smallest issues you can imagine. She did her job and we never had a valid reason to fire her, especially knowing how lawsuit happy she was. So she stayed. Karen's job, as per the handbook, called for a bachelor's degree. Karen did not have a bachelor's degree, but had been hired prior to that being a requirement, so she was grandfathered in. One day, a position above hers became open. A guy who we would call Terry had recently completed his master's degree after taking night classes for a few years. And since an internal promotion is typically better than an outside hire, he was chosen for the promotion. Terry had been at the company for about 4.5 years and was well liked and great at his job. The new job required a master's degree in its job description, and him being a recent grad made it a perfect fit, and everyone was happy for him. Everyone but Karen. Since she was constantly looking for something to sue about, she took it as a direct insult that she had not been considered for this promotion that she was not at all qualified for. She immediately cried discrimination and told our boss her lawyer would be in touch. We were all perplexed since it was very clear that this position required a master's degree, and given that she didn't even have a bachelor's degree, there's no way she could have been hired for the role. What we soon realized was that Karen had saved the original company handbook named Company Handbook and had not been bothered to open or save any new editions that were sent in the following 8 years. She just assumed no changes had been made, and that it was just sent every year to ensure all employees had it. If she had been bothered to open the file, she would have seen the sections that say updated in the table of contents. And since Karen cried lawsuit a lot, no one expected much of this since it was a ridiculous claim. But sure enough, Karen gives a resignation letter via email, and it is gating about how she can't bear to work in such a discriminatory environment that would only promote men. When any higher-ups try to speak to her about this and clear up the confusion, she basically tells them to screw off and to read the damn email. I don't owe any more of an explanation. She basically goes full Karen. Not long after, a letter comes in from her lawyer asking for a settlement to avoid a discrimination case. What Karen hadn't realized was that our boss's sister-in-law owned a law firm. She didn't really take on clients herself anymore and mostly just managed the other lawyers of her firm. She was basically semi-retired. What this meant was that she had plenty of time to review any letters from Karen's lawyer and advisors. Since Karen didn't bother to read any of the updated handbooks, she was unaware that this position had required a master's degree for many years now. She supplied her lawyer with the original company handbook from 9 years ago, and he used that as a reference in his settlement demand. This was when we realized she hadn't read any new handbooks in years. Since Karen rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, boss's sister-in-law decided to personally take on the case. Every letter Karen's lawyer sent, she sent back 3 times in length. Some of it wouldn't even really say anything, just wordiness, but it would certainly take Karen's lawyer a while to read. And he didn't come cheap. After several of those letters, they realize no settlement is going to happen. They want to take it to court. It's a pretty cut and dry case. The boss's sister-in-law shows evidence that Karen has received all updates via email. After the change was made and the handbook sent out, HR even sent an email to Karen, specifically letting her know that she was grandfathered in and doesn't need to worry. To which Karen replied, "Okay, thank you," confirming receipt of it. The best part was when the boss's sister-in-law said that they couldn't break company rules, give Karen a job she was totally unqualified for, while neglecting another employee who went above and beyond to get his master's degree to advance, as that would be unfair to all other employees. Karen now had a huge, seriously huge bill from her lawyer for all of these letters and filling the case, etc. No job, no one she could list as a positive recommendation, and no degree. In the time she had been at the company, it had become industry standard to require a bachelor's degree. So she was effectively shut out of her career. It would also be hard to explain how you work somewhere for a decade and don't have a letter of recommendation from anyone there. If she had only read her emails. The next story is called only if it's in the garbage. This happened before I graduated from college. I was working a part-time housekeeping job for a doctor's office after closing. The most annoying thing was the blatant disregard from the people who worked there. In particular, the woman at the front portions of the office would throw trash everywhere and not put it in the can. Under their desk, the floor would be covered in trash right around the trash can. Most of the time, I wouldn't even have to change the garbage bag. I could just dump the very few pieces that managed to get in the can and then literally crawl around under the desk on my hands and knees picking up all the garbage. I'm talking paper thrown everywhere, old folders they cleaned out from closets, candy wrappers, tuna cans and thousands of peanut shells. Just to name a few. They just didn't care. The amount of lazy you have to be to throw garbage right beside the can and not in it astounds me. I never complained to anyone about it because even though I was angry about it, I figured it was less effort to just pick it up. That is, until I got a note. A very passive-aggressive note from a particular messy woman letting me know I threw her calendar away, and why would I ever do such a thing? The calendar was propped up against a garbage can. That's usually the universal sign of, hey, this needs to be thrown away. And they threw stuff like that away all the time. Why put it there if it isn't trash? Also, there's so much garbage all under your desk every single night, how am I supposed to know when something isn't trash? And it isn't my job to determine what is and what isn't to be thrown away. It was my bad that I threw the calendar away because I didn't pay attention to the dates or anything on it. As I said, there's always garbage everywhere. But when I got this note, I was mad. The nerve, after I spent so much unnecessary time cleaning up garbage that you can't be bothered to actually put in your trash cans because you're too lazy? Fine. If it's not in my can, don't touch it. You got it. Won't touch anything that isn't in your garbage can. I left everything that was on the floor exactly where it was and just changed the bags. Needless to say, she didn't like that and complained to my supervisor. My response was, but I was just doing exactly what she told me to do. My pettiness was pleased. My supervisor told the office manager that if they wanted their trash taken out, then they were to put it in the trash can. Otherwise, nothing would be thrown away, with the exception of box labeled trash that were too big for cans. The last story is called Cancel at No Cost. Last year, my wife and I got married. My parents and sister live half across the world. But that didn't stop them from coming over to celebrate. Since neither my wife and I get to spend much time with them, we decided to rent a house for a couple of days in a nearby wine region. You know, hang out, drink some wine, eat some cheese and have some quality family time. It had been 3 years since we last saw them. A month or so before my parents and sister came over, I got an email from the owners of the vacation house saying that they had sold the property. But the new owners were going to continue to rent out the house and they were going to honor the booking, so not to worry. Everything was good. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the new owners saying the booking was still okay. But they were going over their records and said I still owed them $100 for the booking. I replied back with the receipt and booking confirmation that it was all paid up. Turns out the new owners unilaterally decided to increase the price of the accommodation and I had to pay up. But they were gracious enough to say I could cancel at no cost. But they rather we'd keep the booking and pay that little extra. No cost for cancelling the booking, you say? Within 5 minutes, I had found another vacation house in the same region. There are literally dozens of them. I sent a quick email back to please cancel my booking and process the refund. We'd like you to keep the booking. Can we split the difference? No thanks. Please cancel the booking. If you keep the booking, we'll throw in a bottle of wine. No thanks. Please cancel the booking. The good thing is that the refund came back within days. The reviews have been less than stellar on TripAdvisor. I wonder why. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.